Joining us now is Tony Seabrook. Tony, you remember, you remember from The Voice. He warned us all about the WA cultural heritage laws. Well, Tony, he made a brilliant speech at the National Agriculture Day. He joins us now. Tony, great to see you.
Yeah, morning, Ron. Well
done. Morning. You focused in your speech very much on the crippling effect of not only environmental regulation and government regulation, but also now we have Indigenous regulation thrown on top of that. And the poor old farmer spends most of his time filling in forms.
Oh, Ron, it just gets worse every day, every year. Look, that international body that did a study on Australia's place in the world from a whole range of different perspectives, we rated 4th 19 years ago, 4th. We're now 19th. Now, that's a terrible thing in its own way, but to heaven's sake, it's a trend. It's not stopping. We're getting worse. And everything you've just said about government interference, regulation, red tape, green tape, black tape, it just continues to get worse and no one seems to give a damn.
James.
Earlier this week, Gina Rinehart made a very eloquent plea to cut the petrol excise tax, but in the course of doing that, she also talked about the Roy Hill mine and the 4,000 different applications and forms and permits that were required to get that going. Tell us, that's a large mine, but tell us how all of these things affect agriculture as well. What are some examples of the things that the people who grow our crops, who raise our cattle, raise our livestock for food, for other products, have to contend with that makes life so difficult and things so expensive?
Look, it's just such a creeping, crawling little thing. It's like the frog in the pot of water quietly being boiled. You don't notice it, but bit by bit they hem us in. A regulation here, a regulation there, all the issues around transport. And look, that excise on diesel fuel, on any fuel actually, it's not such a bad way to raise money to fix roads, but this isn't. This is a huge contribution to federal government income, and they can't help themselves. It makes us less competitive. And as a world economy, we absolutely have to be competitive. And you don't notice it as quietly those that get overcome by the costs of doing business, or even as Gina said, the mines that don't get started because of the amount of red tape. The cost of the way that bureaucracy is hammering down on all of us, agriculture and mining, it precludes so much of a bright and brilliant future that we might have. And it's all dressed up under these kind words of fair work and wages justice and progressive, words stolen by the left to describe some of the most dangerous policies this country's ever seen.
Rita.
Tony, we've talked about Chris Bowen at the top of the show. He's a radical ideologue, we know that. But what about the Agricultural Minister? What do you think about Murray Watt? Is he up to the job? Was he there at the National Agriculture Day?
Look, what was missing on the day was anybody from the Labor Party. Now, I actually sat down, and look, Chris Bowen's been on Insiders today, and the guy, he has no depth whatsoever, no understanding. But look, the mine that Gina started up, 2017, she had the most extraordinary battle against bureaucracy and everybody that was there, so-called to help, getting in the way. But I added up some of the figures she presented on the night that Rowan and I were there. $10.3 billion. $10.3 billion is the contribution of that single mine to the economy of Australia. Now, that's tax, royalties, a whole range of different things, but it certainly doesn't take into account all those people that are working there when they go back to Perth or wherever in Australia they live, and they spend that money. It generates a buoyancy that we just would not see. And then you see those poor little kids, marching in the street about climate change and the canoes on the beaches up in Newcastle, demanding we stop exporting coal. They haven't got the faintest idea of what the implications would be if they actually managed to carry the day. Now, you've got coal exports here, $142 billion a year to our economy. Do they really think that you can turn that money off and it'll be okay, that things will continue? All the things that they hold dear to themselves just won't be possible. And I just see this government being so out of touch with the reality of why an economy must work.
Tony Seabrook, always great to chat to you, and thanks so much for speaking to us.